The meeting of the City of LaPorte Sustainability Commission. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. Thank you for leading. Roll call. So, do we actually need to call roll, or can I just say that we're missing Tucker and Ty? We're missing Tucker and Ty. And Devin, who normally attends, yes. Cool. Old business. We had been doing some internal sustainability auditing through city departments. Because of the miscommunication with our city liaison, we don't have one this week, but the next one that he is lining up for us will be Emily with the Parks Department. We should look for that next month. So, no guest speaker today. Next thing on old business was going through the sustainability actions from the Climate Action Plan. I'd actually like to go out of order and talk about EV charging first, as that's also old business, and I think we'll take less time.
Did you all get the email that I had sent from ChargePoint? I just reached out the other day because the mayor had asked me where we were, so I thought I'll just Google. So I did forward it. If you haven't had the chance to read it, it's not a big deal. I just sent it last week. But they did have some questions about what we're looking for and such. So I do have that if you need it again.
Okay. Don has not been added to the group's email yet, so if you didn't CC him directly, he might not have gotten it.
I probably did not.
I was on the last email.
You were on the last
I did get your email.
Okay,
You did get
Yeah,
it?
yes, I
Okay.
did. Yes, I did get it.
excellent.
Okay. So, questions, because I did kind of glance at that, and they are like wanting some information about what we're wanting. And this may seem like an extremely basic question, but do we know what we want?
Yeah, I only filled out like a
Okay.
little online questionnaire.
Okay.
So I didn't provide a whole lot of information. I just said that we were, a mid-sized community looking for options. I mean, it was very vague what I provided.
And definitely a start, they're just looking for, I think they want some clarification of what we want to do, or how many we want to put out, or,
So I don't know if any of you are comfortable responding to that or taking a hold of this after this meeting with the EV chargers.
Well, I mean, that's the reason I'm asking the question. Like, I would not feel comfortable filling it out because I don't know what the intent is. Is the intent to establish 3 to 5 charging stations within the city of LaPorte? Is it to establish 10? Is it to establish 20? Like, what are our goals? Because that's the way they're gonna base their pricing, is how many stations do you want? What infrastructure do you already have? And then there's gonna be the whole thing about maintaining the software. So, I don't know. Those things.
Same.
yeah, I'd like to look it over, but I won't have time for a couple of weeks, but after that, I'll be able to look it over.
Okay.
We could probably get, if Ty's here, or maybe he's, if he knows more about it with their business model, they work with a lot of that. And I think we need the thing that we're really lacking, the fast chargers, or level 3, I think they call them, where they do the charge in 20 minutes or whatever.
Okay.
Because that's what people that drive the Teslas and all that need. They need the fast chargers. So, but I think Ty has some pretty good knowledge of them, so
Okay.
maybe we can.
Yeah.
He should have seen this anyway, and so maybe we can work with him to put a list together.
Yeah, is anybody been tracking what's happening with electrical vehicles, so? too, there's been some change, like Tesla's not making them anymore.
Well, they're definitely slowing up the thing, but they've built these gigafactories everywhere, so
Right, yeah,
I know it's been a strange dynamic behind that.
yeah, so, I mean, I think if we just knew what the intent from the city is, we could easily fill out and get more information. Like, is there money, or do they want us to pursue grant opportunity, or those kinds of things?
Going over the ordinance that created this commission, and I think I don't think, I know, we're gonna talk about that in new business. One of the powers and duties granted to us is that we will pursue grants for sustainable purposes. So I think, yes, we should be looking into grants that we can get to fund those chargers if we can. But we still don't know how many the city wants, where we want to put them, any of the other details.
I don't know who would even make that determination.
That was actually my next question. So I asked Tucker, spoke to him briefly about, who, like, one of the things I wanted to ask was who should be managing these from the city's perspective, and he mentioned the, now I lost it, Planning Commission?
Okay,
I mentioned that it made sense to me that whoever manages the light posts and outlets on the sidewalks should likely also manage these charging stations if they're gonna be in city locations, because those parking spots are gonna have electricity to them from somewhere
yeah,
provided by the city.
yeah. I don't know who manages those, though.
Okay. How can we find out?
Sure, Tucker would know. Probably a combination of the Public Works and the,
Yeah, with Tucker working for the city, I think you probably know.
Okay.
He's kind of the Department of Engineering, I think, right now, isn't he? And that's usually the kind of the guardian of the city infrastructure.
Do we have 3 EV chargers right now? Not saying they're working, but 3.
I believe so.
So I think what I'll do, at least to just have some numbers for the next meeting, is I'll just respond to this email with kind of just, here's our population, can you give me some pricing, and at least have some numbers for the next meeting? Or if they respond, I'll just forward it on to the commission, and then we can talk about it at the next meeting and see if Tucker can share it with whomever would be, responsible for kind of taking this on from the city perspective.
Another thing I looked at because I know that they're charge point stations, I tried to look on their website to find usage patterns, and because they're unmanaged by ChargePoint, they don't even show up on the ChargePoint website. And so we cannot get any kind of data about how often they're used or anything like that, which stinks. So, but yeah, I think that's a good plan. So,
NIPSCO also does them, but I don't know, with all the trouble NIPSCO's causing right now for folks, I didn't really want to bring up that name, so I'll just leave that there.
okay. Anything else for EV charging? On to the next one. Cool. I printed out and handed everyone a copy of the sustainability actions in response to the, what was this document called? Climate Action Plan. So. I guess I don't have a good way to go through all of this. There's 10 to 12 recommendations. like to just go down the list and talk a little bit about them, see if, what we think are good ideas and how we can I don't know, get something moving to accomplish those goals and then measure whether or not we are meeting them. So, the first one is Green Building and Energy Efficiency Ordinance. Purpose would be to reduce emissions from buildings, improve efficiency, would apply to new construction and major renovations. Requirements may include minimum energy performance, LED lighting, smart thermostats, Energy Star rated equipment, mandatory energy benchmarking and annual public reporting for large buildings. I don't know what that entails. Solar ready or EV ready building requirements.
I can look into that, and then talk to our city attorney to see what he thinks, and see if we have anything maybe existing, that needs to be upgraded or revised. If not,
Okay. I'm especially interested in the solar ready or an EV ready building requirements, knowing that the city has a interest in having more EV chargers, so. Other thoughts?
I know that we've had, and I can't say it's gone all the way to the smart thermostats and stuff, but I know that we've had an effort to retrofit all the lighting with LED lighting, some years ago. Of course, it was after we had just done a renovation, some new lighting came in, and then we got really cheap LED fixtures that were bare bones to replace nice-looking fixtures, but we did it, you know, we switched, when I was working at the water department. And I know also that they have engaged Snyder, I think, to work on a solar project on water department land, so. Of course, the wastewater has a great success story on the solar.
Okay. Who would track LED lighting and smart thermostats in city buildings? Okay.
Yeah, it can't, but it kind of was flowed through the engineering, you know, to
Okay.
departments. Might be, Zach, that we do a simple 5 questions or something to each department, you know, as, have you converted all your lighting, you know, you could ask that question and probably get a good response.
Okay. Would Ty know what mandatory energy benchmarking is? Is that kind of like what we get on on our NIPSCO bills? Like, you use this
Yeah.
much
That sounds-
energy compared to your neighbors? Okay. I wonder if we have that for years past, and if we can set a goal to reduce that in any way. Okay. Any other thoughts on number 1? Green building and energy efficient ordinance. EV ready and EV charging infrastructure ordinance. Similar to the last point on on number 1 there. Supports transition to electric vehicles. New commercial and residential developments would be applicable. Ideas that a percentage of parking spaces are pre-wired for EV chargers. Certain high-traffic businesses, groceries, malls, places with bigger parking lots install level 2 chargers. Suggests a city incentive program for retrofits in multifamily housing. I guess I'd love to see all of those.
Yeah.
And again, that would, sounds like a discussion with our city attorney.
Yeah, I think it might be worth looking into in regards to high-traffic businesses requiring them to install. I'm sure I can find something that says, another local has, you must install one EV charger for every 20 parking spaces that you have, or something. So I can probably group kind of all that together into one sustainability, energy-saving, anti-pollution ordinance.
Especially for new construction, all that, when they're putting in infrastructure, and it's a good time to run the lines and get the systems put in.
Number 3 is tree canopy and tree protection ordinance. Increase tree equity score, improve shade, reduce heat. We'd have minimum tree planting requirements for new developments, tree removal permit system with mandatory replacement, incentives for planting trees in identified heat vulnerable zones. I think heat vulnerable is mostly downtown areas with lots of pavement and blacktop.
Yeah, that's one I'd be interested in working on. That's kind of my area of expertise. A few years ago, they did we had a service do a survey of all the trees in town. Is that available?
I don't know if
Copy
it's available, but I know that it's,
Yeah, they did a survey of all the trees, the condition of trees, what needed to be
yeah.
repaired. If
Um,
we-
I know Tucker has that.
I know Tucker has it, yeah. I
and
just- I
Tucker
don't know.
also, this would be his area too.
Yeah, I don't know how available it is, but I know that it exists. So we had the tree grant that, our funding was cut, yeah, with, a lot of other, federal funding. There's something happening to try and, get the funding restored. But I don't think that there's a lot of movement there. Can you reach out to Tucker and set aside some time to talk through that with him?
Sure,
'Cause
yeah, we can get together on that.
He knows all about the tree canopy and tree planting.
Okay, yeah, I'll work with Tucker on that one.
Perfect.
So for some of this to take place, though, there may need to be changes in how the tree permitting is done. Because
Yes.
like right now, you can apply to have your tree removed if it's in the tree lawn. But there is no requirement for mandatory replacement.
Yeah, and I don't think there's mandatory
That's,
replacement for any, like, new development happening either. So if they're cutting down trees to put up a building,
I think they've generally had a good response from, they've held out, I know whenever somebody's developing a lot, and of course, the library, they've required landscaping and trees and everything, and swales, some of the low-impact stuff. So I think we've had generally a pretty good response when they, working with developers to create that. So, and I don't think that effort will be lessened any. I know it's one of the things they've tried really hard to do.
Yeah. So I would with all of this, because, housing and, just infrastructure improvement, like what's going on in Indiana Avenue. And of course, the trees are gonna get replaced there as part of that project. But some of this, I think, if we could have Craig Phillips come
okay?
soon to explain how they're developing some of this adjacent stuff in their comprehensive planning work that they're doing, would be informative. He would also have a lot of information that could be shared with us.
With the cut in the tree grants, did that also include the removal? Or do we still have a budget for tree removal, or?
The street department has been handling removal for anything that needs,
Right.
that is emergent.
Right, yeah, right.
So
that's-
yes,
right.
the grant did cover some removal and then replacement.
Yep.
But there's as far as I know, some budget's still for removal, but that's mostly
Right.
trees that are in danger of damaging property. Anything more for tree canopy and tree protection ordinance? Okay. Number 4, low-impact development, green infrastructure requirements.
I feel like this is something Jerry Jackson would be really deep into, if not already implementing some things.
Definitely for
Jerry and
the-
Devin,
Devin,
in MS4, she has a pretty big role in that.
I know Tucker and Nick in the past have talked about permeable pavement and stormwater management a lot, again, along with Devin. This is recommending permeable pavement, bioswales and rain gardens, stormwater retention standards, green roofs, and for buildings above a certain size. I don't know if we have anything for green roofs, and I'd be curious to learn what we have for stormwater retention standards.
I feel like that would be a standard set by IDEM. I feel like the stormwater retention standards would be something that would be set by IDEM, and then we would just follow. But I think Devin or Jerry would know more about that.
You'll notice that most of the developments, like, I think the new oil change place on Pine Lake Avenue, that they've got on-site stormwater retention. I think a lot of those developments that size are required to do on-site.
How can you tell?
There's a-
How could
there's a-
I tell? I
There's
know how
a,
you
there's
can
a,
tell.
you'll see a dugout area
Okay.
on the property. And Devin is really involved with that because they, look at the square footage on the roof and then they, decide how much drainage and you've got to be able to handle that drainage and then they get charged for it if, based on that square footage on the utility
Yeah,
bill.
they have to submit drainage calculations, and I'm just speaking from my work experience here. They have to do like studies of 100-year or 200-year, like, rain calculations, which that's about the gist of what I know, but that's where the on-site storage and then the size of it has to be depending on also the size of the development.
Interesting.
Might be able to send this to her. She's gonna get a copy of it anyway, but see if she can give us, to the best of her ability, answers to, like item 4, what do you know about, what information do you have that can help us with these questions?
Yeah.
Nick tried, they've done that permeable pavement, when you go into the development north of Crow, that one intersection with all the bricks, that's one of the permeable pavement intersections that we tried.
Okay, I didn't know that.
That's why it's different, that brick, so the water can penetrate through it, or around it.
I wonder if that was successful, if they have,
I think so, I never see any water backing up there.
True.
It's lower than what's around it, so.
well, and then if there's plans for more. Okay. On to number 5. Heat resilience ordinance, reduce health impacts of extreme heat, mandatory shade structures or tree canopy in large parking lots. Cool roof requirements, reflective roofing material, rules for access to cooling centers during heat emergencies. I know that we have the last one. The Civic is available as a cooling center. I don't think there are any cool roof requirements for city buildings or any other buildings, I guess, within the city limits. But I'd be interested to learn more and what we could possibly get moving there. don't know that we have large parking lots.
There are some large ones not owned by the city, I guess, but like, it's a lot of parking lot out at where Rural King is, I guess.
Okay.
Newport Landing would have probably the next set of parking lots that are big.
Walmart, Howmet.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one.
If it's a parking lot that the city doesn't own, would we then have to try and pass an ordinance to say anything bigger than X square feet has shade structures? Okay. I'm gonna move on to number 6, if you guys are all right with that.
Mhm.
Waste reduction recycling ordinance, reduce landfill use, cuts emissions, curbside recycling for homes, recycling requirements for business. I believe we have both of those. Ban on certain single-use plastics. I don't know that we have that, and I feel like that would be really hard to enact immediately. I guess it's something that we could talk about, the impacts of, and look at, I don't know, phasing in over time, but. Composting requirements for large restaurants, groceries, or campuses, yeah. I said that right, groceries. I know we've talked about, the high school and, Al's and Kroger.
Yeah, I think that would be another conversation worth having with Jerry, because he did bring up using biofuel.
Yeah.
But of course, we'd have to partner with folks who can provide the items to make biofuel.
That's the thing I see with requiring the restaurants or business to do that is policing it. Who's gonna police it? How are we gonna do that?
Yeah.
It's just,
I guess the same if we have like a public collection for compostables, whether it's a drop-off site or whatever that looks like. How do you, how do you make sure that people are following the guidelines? Only fruits and vegetables, no meats.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it'd be nearly impossible.
Yeah.
You know, the educational
Yeah.
component along with it gets some people to follow and then others don't. I know when my son lived in Seattle, they had food waste containers that every household got, and they kept, you know, it was kind of small, but that was what they, with bags, and then they put that out with their waste on a certain day.
I think it'd be a combination of waste management and everybody being involved together. It'd be a multi-agency thing.
Yeah,
That's
you have to have-
exactly what I was thinking, like, kind of make it like a trash pickup, where, but somebody has to be
Yeah,
responsible
you have to have a
for
vendor
that, so.
participation, so. to
I mean, you
provide
have a
it.
certain days or they're doing it, so you can have somebody on hand, but then you gotta pay them.
Is there another way to do it, though? Because in some communities, like, there's not a service that's going to do this, and like, you have to have some sort of relationship with the end of the cycle, you know, like, people are collecting their food waste, but it has to have somewhere to go, right? But could, instead of going like 0 to 60 here, we could just go like 0 to 10 or 20 by providing like educational or containers or whatever for people who want to start their own home composting, reduce, you know, reliance on commercial fertilizers and that sort of thing, rather than, this is kind of like a big
Yeah.
end goal. It seems like there's a way to start that's not so large.
I was wondering if this was just an educational opportunity, something we could,
put into the city's newsletter when it goes out and stuff, and, you know, in the
Well-
Laporte Living, and start by educating everybody.
Yeah.
You know, there's some, you know, some containers they make, they put the signs on them, they have it imprinted on them, what you can put in for recyclables and what you can't, stuff like that, so that would all help, little things like that, starting little.
Yeah, or work with groups that have community garden plots, doing your own composting to enhance the soil for growing your own vegetables, like a different way to start, rather than, you know, like this is big, this is like a commercial endeavor here, rather than beginning with growing an effort and getting some like grassroots support for it. You know, for people who are gardeners or people who are doing community garden work and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Starting with community awareness is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, I work with the 3 community gardens here in town, and we do our own, but to get other people to do it, and,
Sure.
but again, we could offer maybe educational.
Yeah, because
Opportunities,
there's
yeah.
a technique to it to do it correctly, right? And I'm not sure that a lot of people who are interested in it, of course, already know how to do it, but people who may be interested in it better feel a little challenged by getting started.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Basically encourage, educate and encourage would be the first step, rather, you know, without a mandate, so.
Yeah.
See if it-
I think the first step will be starting with the schools and starting to educate the children, the kids on it. That's where we need to start.
Jeff, you mentioned maybe getting something in the newsletter. Did you mean like the one that comes with the water bill, or?
Either or, you know, there's the Laporte Living,
Yeah, that's,
and then there's also the one that comes in a water bill that you can, that they put the local information on and upcoming events, and either way, it'd be good both ways, you know, every little bit's good. You know, like what he said about getting into schools, we get the schools to start teaching to the kids at one of the grade levels, add something in the curriculum that just talks about that.
Yep.
And then you got the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and, you know, and all those groups too, that like to get involved in that.
I'm presently working with 4 homeschooling parents right now to teach them gardening and composting and all that, so I'd like to expand that. And we have to, with our PAC Center, the Brighton Street Green Space will be a great place to host some events.
interesting. I got it. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, incentives, penalties, ensure compliance. I don't like that at all.
Penalties probably won't be popular.
What's that?
The penalties probably won't be popular.
Yeah.
Now, that's code enforcement right there.
Okay, do we have, I guess, any action items or anything somebody wants to follow up on for composting requirements for educational opportunities?
I don't know anybody with the schools, but I guess, like, she said, I think Jerry'd be a good one for, he's totally knowledgeable about all this, and he was talking about it when he was up here from the city. I think he already has both feet into it. He'd be a good person to communicate with for which direction to go in.
For the larger businesses, I totally agree. For starting small, Don, you said you're already working with homeschool parents.
Correct. I have four parents that, and they
Yeah.
volunteer work in my gardens, and I work with the kids, and
Okay.
been teaching the kids more about composting, recycling.
Is there an opportunity for the commission to work with the PAC Center at the Brighton Street Green Space
I
to
think so. I think we can do it.
offer something?
Sure, I think we can do that.
Okay.
I'm pretty liberal with my use of the garden center, or the PAC Center. Nate does a real good job with allowing us to use that for educational purposes.
Okay. I don't know what the follow-up would be there, but if we can start maybe planning something for this year, I think that'd be really cool.
I mean, I'm gonna be doing like a seed exchange, and we maybe work something with on the seed exchange, we can have something, maybe get someone there to talk with, even if we use the Master Gardeners Clubs to come in and talk to people. That's a possibility also. I know a few people there, also from the Soil and Water Conservation Office. We can get someone involved.
Okay.
I'm meeting with them next Wednesday, so maybe I'll talk to Paul about that, so.
That sounds great. Cool. Green procurement policy. Ensure the city leads by example. Suggests that the city purchase electric or hybrid vehicles. The city procures recycled content goods, paper, asphalt. And a preference for local low-carbon suppliers.
I think the first two they already do in some respect. I believe when they chip seal, it's recycled asphalt. And then there's a couple of hybrid vehicles used by city employees.
I know
So it's a start.
a couple of hybrids and then a couple that are natural gas as well, right?
Well, the transport fleet is propane, the entire fleet, and I think that was the first one in Indiana to do that.
Oh, propane, yeah.
Now, the wastewater just got a couple of electric pickups on their grant. They had one that didn't go, the water department, there were some issues, but you've got to make sure that the vehicle could still do what you needed to do, and some of the electrics hadn't come up to, weren't there for
Yeah.
the needs. But I think they do, I mean, I think that's an effort that's underway, it could be encouraged to try to get more of them. But now that because the government took away all the incentives on the electrics, they're phasing out production to lower levels now. So that's not been very helpful to the process.
Todd, how is that something that we could encourage more?
I don't know, I think they've worked through, NERC is the grant agency, so they've worked through NERC on those, so I think that most of the departments would still like to do it. I mean, we had electric vehicles when we were reading meters before we went to the automated system. We had 2 small electric vehicles we got through a grant that we really used pretty hard for 5 or 6 years without any problems, but then they were obsolete and parts became unavailable for them.
Yeah. How often does the city purchase vehicles, and is it only when grants are available?
Oh, no, everybody's got budgeted money for fleet, purchasing and turnover. I think right now the water department's on a program with Enterprise, I think, to turn vehicles over. Actually, they're doing some kind of a lease or lease purchase.
Yeah, I'd imagine there's some sort of standard, I can't speak for the city, but I know for the state, for NDOT, the vehicle has to, I think, be 10 years old or have 150,000 miles, and then you can look into, unless it's like a major mechanical failure, but I'm sure there's some sort of standard for replacing fleet.
Okay. So then, yeah, how do we encourage when fleet vehicles are being replaced, whether it's with a grant or just during the natural life cycle of those things, that they are electric or hybrid? I guess who makes those decisions? Is it the,
It just have to be, the city
Board of
would have
Works.
to put it in their purchasing
Yeah.
guidelines.
okay,
And it goes through the Board of Works, the purchase itself, so the departments, what they need or what they want, and then goes to them. But I think that, it's a little disappointing to see the electrics go down a little bit, because when a city our size, range isn't an issue. I mean, that's the issue for a lot of areas.
yeah.
And we have a pretty small service area, so range, I'm surprised they haven't gone that way for police vehicles, because the maintenance is so low. They're ideal in a community like ours, the electric.
So if those requirements go through the Board of Works, do we need to talk with them about?
Yeah, it'll probably, again, be a thing to talk to Tucker about, because I'm sure his
Okay.
his thoughts are in that direction.
Okay. Excellent. Anything else for green procurement? All right, sustainable landscaping ordinance, reduce water use and support biodiversity. We could require native and drought-resistant plants in all new commercial landscapes, limit turf grass, restrict harmful pesticides and fertilizers, require stormwater-friendly landscape design standards. I know Tucker's talked about rain gardens before.
You know, a lot of that's been done with the new planting that's like around Stone Lake on the walking paths. They're working all that now, so they have mostly drought-resistant plants in that area. I think Tucker's taking charge of that one.
Yep.
Tucker's gonna wish he would have been here tonight. He's gonna get everything.
He's our one point of contact. He gets dumped on a lot. Yeah, the one that sticks out there to me is the restrict harmful pesticides and fertilizers. I know how fertilizers that get into our lakes affect algae blooms and other weeds growing up in the water. I don't know what we have in place already to do that, so. But I imagine Tucker'd be a good one to ask, and probably Devin as well.
Yeah, this committee, the water department's working on, on a new wellhead protection plan, and they will probably some point where they're gonna interact with this committee. And that is something with MS4, what you can put on the ground, where you can put it. You do need local ordinances to pass it. If we had an area around the wells, a certain radius, what's known as a wellhead protection area, if you don't want something in that to be used in that area, then you need to do an ordinance to restrict that. And that's not unusual to see that restriction, but you're also at a little bit at odds with, people that are doing their lawns, and if you consider those harmful chemicals, what you buy at cable, and then you're gonna have a real, because Scott's step 1, 2, 3, 4, everybody does that, so I don't know.
Yeah. And that might go along with like the ban on certain single-use plastics, if that's something we want to look into more. We could say, hey, as a city, we don't want to use these in 10 years or whatever. We want none of these plastics in our stores and none of these fertilizers sold there either. I don't know if that's something we can even affect, but.
When I talked to Tucker about the tree canopy part, we can also talk about this. We can all talk about it all together, so.
Renewable energy and solar access ordinance. Purpose would be to increase renewable energy adoption, would provide solar easement protections, preventing neighbors from blocking panels, provide streamlined permitting for residential solar, would require that new commercial roofs be solar ready. I didn't know that any roofs weren't solar ready.
They're not.
No, you can't.
It's interesting because we're gonna have some really, really, really huge structures built when they build a data center, but I haven't seen anything about green roofs or solar on those massive roofs. You'd think that they themselves would want solar on those roofs, but it must not be economical versus buying the power.
Yeah. Who in the city is talking with, what is it, Microsoft?
You know, I don't know, I believe it'd have to be the planner and the engineering, I would,
Okay.
LEAP is also involved.
yeah.
Okay. Last item, there's optional solar mandates for large buildings, and I don't know that that's something we want to pursue.
The only thing I see there, and it could go somewhere else, is the backup power requirements for essential service buildings. Because if you have like a natural disaster, if you don't have, like, for example, your cooling center or your warming
Warming centers,
center,
yeah.
or, you know, like, you can't manage those very well if you don't have this in essential buildings. But I don't, you know, like, what are the essential buildings? The hospital's gonna have backup power already. But if people had to go, say, to the high school or the civic to be there for a little while, then what?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
That sounds like a Tucker or so an engineering or a city planning question as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even with the larger buildings, if they mandate and do that, the planning commission, I think, would be a big part of that with the engineering department with the city. But there would be, they'd probably be kind of hesitant about it too, because you can't really mandate these big commercial buildings come into town. They might say, okay, we're gonna build somewhere else. So there has to be options available.
Yeah.
I think Kyle is helpful to us on that too, because the company he works for, I mean, that's what they do, they manage energy a lot for companies and governments. So he would be helpful, I think, on this.
Okay. So, that was the last of the, sections, I guess. The next pages are report specific, and I don't think they're any more specific than what we just read through, from what I remember. There were a lot of questions and a lot of, things to think through there. I guess in the notes, I can go through and write down which ones I've written down, like, we need to ask Tucker this, or we need to ask somebody this.
Yeah, and some of these questions, I think, can be directed to Annette,
Okay.
I would think.
Cool. When the notes are sent out, can we make sure that if you don't see a question on there that you have, we're sharing those? I just want to make sure that we're capturing everything.
If we need to have a meeting with, like, Tucker between now and the next meeting or something for some of these answers, I could participate with you here, so.
Okay. Cool. That finishes the old business. New business is to review ordinance 2-2022, which is the ordinance that brought this commission to being. I forwarded this to everyone in email last week sometime. I hope you all had a chance to read it. I found it interesting. I know we only have 8 minutes left, so I would like to skip to meeting frequency. So 5.1.3 on the agenda paper. The ordinance says that we are to meet once a month, but I feel like we lose a lot of context and momentum meeting so infrequently. And I was wondering if you all felt the same and would want to propose a motion to meet twice a month.
So all of the commissions that I'm on, as well as the other city council members, are once a month. So I personally would be opposed to because I'm on multiple commissions.
Yeah.
So if this is something you wanted to meet in between, I mean,
As-
I can't speak on that, but as for officially making it multiple times a month, I could not do that.
What about, so like one official meeting a month and then a scheduled working session?
I think that would be
Every other week?
up to you
Okay.
all.
I mean, I don't think one a month is enough. I mean, we just don't get a lot accomplished with that.
Well, I think it's also
If
hard
we-
because not everybody shows up. So we're stalled in 3/4 of these discussions.
Yep.
Because someone's not here. So we can't really talk about stormwater because Devon's not here. We can't really talk about city budgeting and what it is because Tucker's not here. So that's where we fall short. That's where we've fallen short since I've been on this commission is you need to be here, to be frank.
I think if we had more members and then divided up into committees, that would probably work. Have 3 men, or if we had non-members, 3 men to, or 3 people to a committee, and they could meet.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if we had subcommittees, then it's a different story. You know, a lot of things I've ran, you get a subcommittee, they can meet, and they always report back to the commission or report back to the board of what their findings are, or send the notes out to everybody. But we need to set up those committees first and get those going, so we can move forward with all that.
And/or, like,
Yeah.
to that is topic-specific, meaning if we have something we really want to work on,
Exactly.
then 2 or 3 of us at least, get together to advance the cause a little bit between meetings.
So I have a question about that, though. First of all, we don't have, I'm not sure that we have enough people to have committees
Yeah.
at this point. Because who would they be? There's, well, how many of us here? 6. So that's like, you can't have a lot of committees with only 6 people. It's not possible, you don't have enough people. May as well just have the big meeting. But the other thing is do we need to find out for sure, if you have a committee meeting, is it a public meeting that has to be advertised and posted? Even if it's a committee meeting of the commission, so.
I don't believe committees needed to be publicized. You know, in other towns I know that, I mean, but the subcommittees don't, because they report back to the regular meeting, then everything gets publicized and what their findings are. Like, if we had, one of us was running a subcommittee, we could be working with one of the engineers or city employees, and then bring back to what we're finding. If you had 3 or 4 people on that committee, and like, any one of us could have 9 committee people a part of the committee. You know, they don't have voting rights, but, or anything like that, but get people to put this stuff together, information together,
I think,
and research.
Nick said at the last meeting that when we make a decision in our public meeting to hold a meeting on that date, that serves as our notification.
That's correct.
So,
I think if you're changing something like that, I think it's like a 48-hour notice or including like an announcement. So when I read my synopsis of our meeting at our next council meeting, which is Monday, and I say it's whatever our next meeting is, that's appropriate.
Fonda, I think your question is still valid, right? Do we need to publicize? Is that the right word?
I can still
Yeah.
announce it at council meetings, I just can't ensure the meetings could be here, because there's so many other meetings. So if you could do it at the library or something, I can certainly announce that in the interim at the council meetings.
So I guess if they don't need to be announced, that's not a big deal. How can we find out what that,
I think we could ask Annette.
okay.
Is the size of the commission outlined in the ordinance?
It is, yeah, it's a six-member commission. So if we want to change that, we would need the city attorney to draft an amendment. Do we want to change that?
I mean, again.
Yeah.
What is the question?
Do we want to change the size of the commission?
How many are we officially?
6?
Voting members? We're only 6 voting members, and then the representatives from,
Yep.
like, Devin and Tucker,
Yep.
councilwoman.
So, Todd, like, so we have 5 of us, right?
5 votes
So we
here
need,
today.
we have 1 opening then. Is that correct?
We have an opening?
No, we don't have an opening.
Thought we were 7 in the beginning, but
So,
Oh,
something made me think we were
we
7.
were. No.
okay, yeah, no, we're good, right?
Don
No.
took
Yeah,
Lucas's
sorry.
spot.
Yeah, okay, okay.
I have no problem with us, increasing the amount. I think it'd be good for us, but I think we all need to be here to talk about that and come up with a number. Or we could even talk through our emails and, or what numbers you guys thinking, adding 2 or 3 more? Or, I mean, you don't wanna get too big, you don't wanna get out of reach, so smaller numbers and get more things done sometimes. Just, what direction we wanna go in. I think we're pretty adequate as we are right now. We just need to start getting some committees going and moving forward with some of these ideas. But we're kind of, our hands are tied a little bit when it comes to, we don't have budget and definitely need to work with the city with things, so.
Well, I think if we get some more of these questions answered that you have here, we can ask, that'll help us, that'll give us some direction too.
Okay. It is 5 o'clock. We've made it through one of the items on the new business. I'll put that on the agenda for next time. Do we want to meet? Yeah, when's our next meeting? I think regularly scheduled would be
Yeah, it would be March 24th.
March 24th.
And there are some things on this list that I could just get answers to and share them via email,
That would be great.
and then have more answers regarding an ordinance, what we have existing for requiring businesses to install chargers depending on size for new developments, tree replacement, taking away, putting back, things like that. I can look into that before our next meeting and have some information that I'll share as I get it, obviously, and then check on a few of your 5.11, 5.111, at least see where that lies.
Okay. That'd be great. Yeah. All right, so next scheduled meeting is the 24th of March. Do we want to have a working session in between then and now?
And I can probably ask Annette if I need to announce if you guys are gonna do a working session and where. I can find that out too.
I can, I'll take that one. You're doing a lot.
Zach, and if you want to try to set something up, or we can cover some of these with Tucker, if I'm available.
Okay, yeah. So then we'll try and do a working session ad hoc and,
Yeah, if you could just let me know before Monday, because if I have to announce it, Monday's the next council meeting.
okay,
So you'll just send that out to everybody, the intent for the working session to be, make sure that Tucker's in attendance.
yes. Excellent. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.